Hello and welcome to another episode of the SportsWatch. We've been having chats with different people about different avenues of sport, and this time around, we decided that it's only right we speak about a very popular sporting aspect in Sri Lanka, which is none other than football. And to talk about that, joining me is Navod Wijewickrama, head of football at ThePapare.com. Navod, thank you very much for joining us.
No worries, Sudarshana. How are you doing?
Not too bad. Working from home. It's been quite some time since we've seen each other. Now, very interesting news coming from world of football. English Premier League, one of the most popular leagues in the world, and definitely the most popular league in Sri Lanka, is set to return. It was to return on the 12th, but now the news is that it will return on the 17th of June. How excited are you for the return of live football?
Definitely excited, Sudarshana, because now the Bundesliga started beginning a couple of weeks back. They had the I think 2 weeks. For 2 weeks, they had the Klassiker with Dortmund playing Bayern. Still, the players aren't used to the normal uh, playing conditions before the coronavirus started, but right now, after 2 weeks, 3 weeks, people even the signs that La Liga and the Serie A is also starting, and even the Premier League, I think they've conducted 3 or 4 uh, COVID-19 tests uh, where they've tested each and every one from the players to the coaching staff, the support staff, and everyone. In those three, they've found 4 or 5 or 6 in each of those tests came positive. But what they are saying is they are looking to start in a couple of weeks' time, and that is definitely a very good sign for every football fan around the world because, as you said, the most popular league around the world.
That's right. Now, the Premier League, like you said, have conducted numerous test rounds when it comes to testing for COVID-19, and some of the players, yes, have come back positive. But the good news for Premier League is the fact that they have it under control, and they believe that they can conduct the rest of the tournament in a controlled environment. The the project restart per se, when the Premier League announced project restart, there were difference of opinion where some of the fans and some of the people believed that it was too big of a risk to take because Premier League putting the players, the coaches, and the supporting staff in that environment is not safe because we all know that if at all it goes through on the 17th, it's going to be behind closed doors. But what do you think about the restarting factor? Because I know COVID-19 is a global pandemic that we need to take very serious, but life needs to go on as well, isn't it?
Yes, indeed. I think there were a few concerns from the players as well, especially Watford's Troy Deeney. Troy Deeney, I think he was very concerned about like he has his kid as well who is not doing well. He has breathing problems as well, so he was really concerned about that. And a few players were really concerned. And adding to that, there was N'Golo Kante also, who took a leave from practices. I mean, from Chelsea as well. He took some, and Frank Lampard was okay with it. So different opinions from, I mean, different players. I think you have to respect that as well. I think at the beginning also there were uh, pay cuts, and there were a lot of negotiations and a lot of back and forth stuff happening in the Premier League as well as in the other leagues, but Premier League especially. But some of the players took the pay cuts, some players did not, and some even there were controversies where some of the support staff was laid off, but then there was huge backlash but they were brought back in. I mean, they were given their full salaries, and a lot of things happening. I mean, it was new territory for everyone, even for the owners, the players, the support staff, fans, everyone. But I think at the end of the day, they did the right thing in keeping the support staff, and even the players. They did a lot of charity work. I mean, if you've seen the news and all, there was I mean, in each and every league there were campaigns. They raised money, and I mean, a lot of charity work to keep that community to do well, and looking after them especially. That's what you need, because football is nothing without the fans.
Absolutely, 100%. Football is absolutely nothing without the fan. That's why it's the most popular game in the world as well. And now, Premier League is set to return on the 17th of June, which is a Wednesday, and the full round of weekend matches will be played on the 19th to the 21st of June on that fixture. We have 92 games to be completed for this season to come to a close, right? And out of the 92, the one good thing, despite it being played behind closed doors, one good thing is that the football fans around the world will be able to watch all these 92 games now. That's absolutely brilliant, because Sky Sports have given a commitment of showing, I think, a 60 odd games, and with BBC after 20 odd years saying that they are going to show 4 games as well. This is absolutely terrific for all of us, because it's going to be played out in a way that we can, if we want, if we will, we can watch every single one of those 92 games.
Yes, indeed. If you've seen the schedule, the fixture schedule, I mean, the time schedule that they've planned, it was like 12, there will be two matches at 12 p.m., and two at 2 p.m., and another two at 4 p.m., 6 p.m., and 8 p.m., something like that. Because it was like back to back matches on all 7 days of the week, from what I've heard. But even if it is for 3 or 4 days of the week, I mean, I'll take it any day. So that's a huge plus point. And for people who have been starved of live entertainment, I mean, that's really big for someone like me who follows almost every sport. I mean, even having this is a really big thing.
Oh, trust me, same here, because I'm very excited for this Premier League season to kick off. It's been a long wait, and we'll come to that now. Now, when we look at the current Premier League table, right? We all know this year Liverpool has been absolutely dominant when it comes to the Premier League. They have 25 points in front. They were well on course to win their first Premier League title after 30 years, domestic competition after 30 years. And do you think this COVID-19 pandemic, this stoppage, has taken a little bit of color from the Liverpool's campaign? Because in my opinion, although some may say I'm a little biased here because I'm a very avid Liverpool fan, but in my opinion, this Liverpool campaign has been absolutely amazing.
Yes, I mean, take nothing away from how they've played and how they've approached the season, even the last couple of seasons as well. Last season, they won the Champions League. The year before, they came into the final. Unfortunately, two goalkeeping errors denied them of, say, what could have been back to back Champions League wins. But this is, I think, the Premier League is what's more important for Liverpool, because though the last time they won the Champions League was back in 2005, but even before that, it has been the 30 long years, as you said, since the last time they won the Premier League. The way they've played, they truly deserved it, and it's a good thing that the Premier League has started. But the win will certainly take somewhat of a shine. I mean, from that the championship win, this COVID-19 pandemic will certainly take uh, the shine off it. not much, but I think even if you win it, you want to win it in front of your fans, or even to celebrate with your fans. As I said before, football is nothing without the fans, and especially a crowd like the Liverpool fans. I mean, you've seen the matches, you've heard the stories. The crowd on a European night, Champions League night, is, I mean, I think that's one of the best fans, the crowds that you will ever see at a football game, especially the stories you've heard, the match against Barcelona where they came back in that second leg. So that the fans adds a lot to it, and you want to, after 30 long years, when you win it, you really want the fans to be there.
Oh, absolutely. I do agree with you. Yes, take nothing away from the victory of Liverpool, but when they actually do win it, they would definitely prefer to win it in front of a cheering crowd. Maybe take it back to Anfield. My memory goes back to when they won the Champions League and that parade they received in Liverpool. Something similar or a little bigger would have happened if things were normal. Now let's take a look at the top part of the Premier League table. Now Liverpool at top, Man City second, Leicester third, Chelsea in fourth. That's your Champions League bracket, and then comes Man United and the Wolves at sixth place. Something very interesting is the fact that keep in mind, although Man City is at second with 57 points, chances are they might not be in the Champions League next year because of the ban that they are facing. Although they have applied against it, so it makes it a little more interesting for the rest of the clubs, so that they can try and come on to the top four and challenge for that Champions League position.
Yes, indeed. I think Manchester City has a 2-year ban, if I'm not mistaken. And if you look outside the top four, there's, like you said, there's United, there's Wolves, and United, before the pandemic really took toll, they were really doing well. They were on a roll. They had quite a uh, string of good results. Even Wolves, they've done well against the top sides. So I think there you have to see that first couple of weeks will be really crucial, and the teams would need to straight away be going at it. You don't have a week or two to settle down. You need to be at your peak. Liverpool, again, they only need I think 2 or 3 wins to secure the title. So there's no pressure. They have a 20 odd point gap from second place, Manchester City. But the other teams, they need to be really careful in on how they plan and how they approach the game, and especially the fitness levels, because the form that you finished, the the form that you were in 2 months back, is not the form that you want to. Uh, is not the form that you are currently in. So you have to start from scratch, and but you need to be up. You need to have up your game, especially. I mean, in the first couple of weeks when the Premier League starts, because you need to secure that Champions League spots, and there's a lot of money involved in it, and especially with how this pandemic has caused a lot of financial troubles for clubs. You will definitely want to secure that Champions League spot for your club.
Oh, absolutely. Now, something very important I would mention here was the fact that the financial troubles that come with not being selected to Champions League. Even so, some clubs who are in a more dire situation are the clubs down at the bottom, who are in the zone now. Now those clubs are going to take this restart very seriously, because they need to try and claw their way back. So the clubs like Norwich City and Aston Villa are right at the bottom. Then on top of them are Bournemouth and Watford. So those four clubs, is very important that they try and produce very good results and hope that the clubs above them are little shaky when it comes back to the season, so that they can claw their way up. because when you fall down to the championship, it can become very very tricky. We know how Sunderland was a regular Premier League team, but now they're not in the Premier League. Now they're not even in the championship as well. So that's something that these clubs have to worry about.
Yes, like I said, securing Champions League spot is in millions when it comes to revenue. Same with if you stay in the top 17 in the Premier League. So there's millions involved in that because there's a lot of TV revenue. I mean, Premier League. If you look at it, we know that's everybody in the world. I mean, is really interested in the Premier League, but not with the championships. When you go down to the championship, the TV revenue goes down, and most of the time it's really difficult to get promoted. Uh, like we've seen teams like Leeds United who've done really well in the 80s, 90s, and in the early 2000s. And in the mid 2000s, they were relegated and they haven't been able to come back, even under a really good coach like Marcelo Bielsa. They came really close last season, and but now they are doing well, so hopefully they'll be able to get promoted. But when you go down to the championship, it's really difficult because some of your top players move on. They If you have a really top player and your club gets relegated, that player would want to, if he's really good, would want to play in the Premier League, and they would move on to much better clubs. And you won't get good players in the championship, and it's really difficult to uh, get promoted, like I said before. So there's a lot of stuff uh, that you need to look into. But when you get into the top 20, top 17 of the Premier League, you need to stay there as long as you'd like, because teams like, say, Wigan Athletic, Sunderland, they were flirting with that relegation spot for quite a few years before they were finally relegated. And as you said, uh, Sunderland are not in the championship as well. So there's a lot of difficulties surrounding when you go down to the championship.
Yes, absolutely. When it comes to the championship, it definitely is a dogfight down there. Every team that comes into you will want to beat you, and yeah, getting the promotion up is always very difficult. Now, we've covered somewhat almost everything. Now, it's something else that remains to be discussed. A very interesting factor that remains to be discussed is the fact that Newcastle seems to be in the news these days for their acquiring of a new owner. Prince bin Salman of Saudi Arabia has shown a very keen interest of buying Newcastle United, and if that goes through, that is going to be will Newcastle be a power to be reckoned with in the Premier League, and also when it comes to Champions League? I know that's a long way away. They need to try and establish themselves in the Premier League because for if you're not a very die-hard fan of the Premier League, when you say Newcastle, most likely you might think of Santiago Munez.
Yes, I think from the Saudi point of view, from Prince bin Salman and uh, the consortium's point of view, they've picked a good side to buy. I think they were initially, a couple of years back, they were initially looking at buying Manchester United, but that didn't happen. But Newcastle United, there is a lot of history. A good club who has performed really well in the 90s, 80s, 90s. Uh, Good players. They produced good players, and there's a big fan base around it. So that's what you need when you buy a club, because money doesn't buy you fans. And I mean, if you know a few clubs, you'd know that really doesn't buy you the fans. And when it comes to the Premier League, I think is it Sheikh Mansour who owns Manchester City, but Prince Salman is way more wealthier, and his consortium is way more wealthier than Sheikh Mansour, from what I've heard. But it's not about the money that's a concern for the fans, the club, and as well as the Premier League. It's about the human rights record with Saudi Arabia, and it's a really tricky political matter, because even in Saudi Arabia, there is copyright violations as well. There have been allegations that some of the TV channels in Saudi Arabia is using, uh, I think, pirated uh, stuff, the Premier League stuff, Premier League matches. I think
Yes, they
that is a
don't own the
concern.
rights. Yeah,
Yeah,
they
so
don't
that
own the
is
rights
that.
to show the Premier League.
So I think that is the concern with the Premier League, especially, and with England, because with the human rights record, they don't want to be that involved, or they need to take that right decision. But from what I've seen in the news, they have they are okay with the takeover, and let's see how it goes. There's a lot of speculation and on how the next starting 11 of Newcastle United would look like. I mean, the people like players like Kylian Mbappe and all those big names rumored to be on the watch list of Newcastle and their owners. So let's see how it goes. It'll be an interesting time in the next couple of years.
Well, absolutely. Like you said, if Prince bin Salman really do get his way around purchasing this club, no player is going to be too expensive for them. Because I did see one of those charts where they match up the rest of the owners to Prince bin Salman and his wealth, and he's basically a Gulliver in a Lilliput world, because he's so wealthy and can really shake up the financial part here at the Premier League. Now, another thing that you did mention and I found very interesting, Navod, is the fact that when it comes to purchasing a club or acquiring a club, it's not only the monetary factor; it's how you get along with the fans, how the fans feel you. Because end of the day, like you mentioned at the beginning of this conversation, football is about its fans, and that's why I think FSG, the owners of Liverpool, have really gotten their way right. They first managed to get a really good relationship with the fans. They got a manager who the fans love, and they placed their trust in the manager, and that's something that paved way for them to be very successful.
Yes, so I think when it comes to they come from America and they are involved with the Boston Red Sox, so they know their stuff. They know their stuff 100%. So they would have done their homework, done their research, done their surveys, and they've picked a good side. I mean, pick the right club to buy, and they've stayed with them, because in the initial few years under Klopp, they weren't doing that well, but they believed in that project. They brought in the right people, right backroom staff. It's because you have to accept that it's not only the coach who does the stuff, because the coach is there to do the the minor tactical changes, but the manager is the guy who gets all the credit. But the backroom staff, when it comes to physios, the scouting especially, I think they brought in. I'm not exactly sure what his name was, but if you just go on the internet and search the scout that they the scouts that they brought in, and even the football director that they brought in really gelled well with Klopp, and they invested in the youth. They brought in like people you won't believe would really be involved with a club like Liverpool, because nowadays even for 20-30 million you won't get a good player, but they invested in players like Robertson. They invested in players like Trent and Alexander Arnold. Arnold came from the youth system, so they invested in the youth system. They brought in, did their scouting really well. They bought in cheap players for, I mean, really low prices, and guys like Salah, Mane, Virgil van Dijk. Virgil van Dijk, of course, cost them quite a lot, but they needed a good centre back, and they've built that team around them. And guys like Alisson as well, they wanted a really good keeper. So the for the positions that they really needed, they went and spent the money for the and built the team around them, and you've seen the results on the field.
Absolutely, and it's something that we really really need to take heart from, because it's not only the finances that play you well. It's the planning and the administration that goes along with it. And like you mentioned, Trent Alexander-Arnold coming through the system, coming through the academy, and they did show a glimpse of what's next with their youth team playing in the FA Cup and managing to beat a top flight team as well. The players like Harvey Elliott, who's just 16 years old, showing a lot of promise as well. And that's something I think the club will be very proud about. And hopefully for fans like me of Liverpool, we will be able to see a couple more trophies being lifted in our lifetime, because we waited almost 3 decades to be able to see that. Navod, it's been an absolute pleasure having a chat with you regarding the return of the English Premier League, and I think we should do this again before the Premier League finishes, because I'm sure there will be a lot more stories that come up when it comes to the restart of the Premier League. Thank you so very much for joining us, and looking forward to hearing from you again.
Yes, indeed, it was a pleasure having a chat with you, Sudarshana. But before I go, I'll just add a fun fact which I just read right now while doing this interview. The Portuguese Premier League started, and the first goal of the restart was scored by Jesus Corona.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Porto 74 in the 74th minute. It was Jesus Corona. Although he spelled Jesus Corona, they call him
Yes,
Jesus
yes, yeah.
Corona. So this year, 2020, he keeps on giving and it keeps on surprising people. May it be football or may it be the financial situations, but we really do hope that things improve. And thank you, Nawal, for that very fun fact to finish it off. And it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Sudarshana.
There you go. That was Navod Wijewickrama having a chat with us about the return of the Premier League. It's something very interesting because things are slowly getting back to normal, and people are going back to normal as well. So what we are going to do is we are going to bring you a lot more stuff like this until we get back to normal and we have a lot of sports to present to you. I'm Sudarshana Peiris signing off for ThePapare.com. Do stay with us on ThePapare.com, on our YouTube channel, on our site www.thepapare.com, and you will not miss out on any sporting action. Thank you for joining. I look forward to meeting you again.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos like this, and don't forget to hit the bell icon for our latest content.